welcome to Live Interactive English. I'm Mike.
I'm Rainbow.
And we're back with part 2 of the principle of just right. Finding things to make them perfect, not pushing yourself too hard, not being too lazy, and not pushing yourself, but doing it in a way that makes you feel comfortable, but you will also improve, like Goldilocks and her perfect bowl of porridge, or her perfect chair, or her perfect bed. But that got me to think, how many other good life lessons that we can use in all sorts of ways did we learn in the first instance, in the first part of our life, from fairy tales? Can you think of other good advice that you learned from fairy tales, but you still follow these, rules, this advice later in your life?
Don't trust strangers.
I'm thinking you're getting that from Snow White and the poisoned apple from the witch.
Don't think everybody is always a good person.
Right.
But I didn't learn that.
No?
Even though I learned it in the story.
You're not eating apples from strangers.
I didn't believe it until, because I always thought everybody was a good person. So I didn't learn that until I was like very, very old.
But what about the witch in the story? She's not a good person.
Because people don't look like that in real life. They always look nice and pretty, and they look like they are kind.
Okay.
So I always would fall for the appearance. If somebody was kind, like for example, if they were kind to others, I thought they were always a kind person. But it turns out that some people would be faking it if they wanted something from you.
Okay.
So I didn't learn that until very far along in life, that some people would present a side of themselves to you that wasn't real because they wanted something from you.
I see, but it was all just a mask. It wasn't their real self there. It was just what they think you wanted to see.
I think so, yeah.
I guess that's kind of like Hansel and Gretel too, right? They're walking through the forest, they're lost, they see the house made of candy and cookies, and they think, oh, that must be a wonderful place. But of course, the lady in there wants to eat them.
Yeah, like that.
It's not a wonderful place. So yeah, there's that one. There's lots of good lessons that we can get from fairy tales, like Goldilocks. And that's the same reason I don't trust my grandmother, because she might be a wolf.
Oh, I thought you were going to say she was a witch.
No, she might be a wolf. I'm not sure. All right, let's find out more about the principle of just right. She's got a really long nose and whiskers.
Oh.
My grandmother.
Oh.
Yeah.
The Goldilocks principle applies to a range of areas beyond learning. In business, it refers to people's preference for the right amount of something, and it's used to set prices in a way that drives people to select the most profitable products. That's why you often see the same product or service offered in different ways. A technology company, for example, might offer 3 versions of a cell phone: high-end, mid-range, and low-end. Since people generally avoid extremes, most will choose the mid-range option. The method also makes customers more likely to buy something in the first place because it puts the focus on which to buy among several, instead of whether to buy at all if there is only one.
So, the principle of just right, part 2. Let's get into it and find out more about this concept from, of course, the Goldilocks story.
The Goldilocks principle applies to a range of areas beyond learning. In business, it refers to people's preference for the right amount of something, and it's used to set prices in a way that drives people to select the most profitable products. We are not really as independent thinkers as we think. We are actually often influenced by tactics that drive us or cause us to do something or be more profitable or spend more money, depending on which end you're on.
So how would they use this Goldilocks principle? How would we see it when we go shopping, for example? Well, the article explains that's why you often see the same product or service offered in different ways, because one way of using a product or service might be perfect for one group of people, but not for another. So they have to find different ways, because of course all companies want to be profitable. Profit is the money the company gets to keep after they sell the products and then pay all their bills, pay the workers, pay for everything. If they have extra money, that is profit. So companies want to be profitable. Otherwise, your company is making zero money or actually losing money by doing business. If your company's profitable, then at the end of the day or the end of the year, you'll have extra money, and then you can build your company, grow your company, hire more workers, that kind of thing. It basically means your company is healthy and will be able to continue in the future. How about Anne's business? Well, it's going very well, thank you. Anne has built up a profitable business selling sweaters she knits herself.
Wow, that means she makes a lot of them.
Yes,
She's very good at selling them,
and
too.
And of course, she has to have a lot of different because she's got to sell sweaters to lots of people.
That's right.
So she's got to find them that are just right.
And if you have a lot of sweaters that you're selling, that means you have a lot of product. The product is the thing that you're giving out or selling or dispersing or giving to the world. So it could be food, it could be item of clothing, it could be makeup, it could be hair products. It's any things that are used or eaten that people can buy and sell. For example, the fat content of a food product is usually written on the label. So this would be a pack of chips or that bag of dumplings that you're buying. There are all these kinds of food products, and you want to make sure that the ingredients are good for you so you can check it out in the list that is stuck onto the package.
All right, back to the article. A technology company, for example, might offer 3 versions of a cell phone: high-end, mid-range, and low-end, right?
Yeah.
So they'll have 3 different types of phone, all
like
made by the
iPhones.
same company. Some of them will be similar. Some of them will have similar features or functions, but they'll have a high-end one, a really fancy one with extra cameras, more expensive. Mid-range, kind of for your average person, and maybe low-end, a cheaper one, maybe for kids or older people who are like, I don't need
people
a camera.
People who don't need extra features.
I don't take pictures of myself, and so that will be something that everyone will be able to find the perfect cell phone for them. Since people generally avoid extremes, most will choose the mid-range option. If you want to pay $40,000 for a new camera, we got one for you. It's got gold, it's got diamonds on it. But most people will choose the middle option because they don't want the fancy one. It's too expensive. They don't need that stuff. But they need a few more functions than the really, really cheap, simple one. So they'll choose the middle option.
An option is a choice. So when you're buying something and there are many options, that means there are different types for you to choose from. And it could be not just what you're buying, it could be where you're visiting, what you're going to do with your life. To have options is to have different things that you can choose. And I think it's very important to weigh the options, which means to think about which one is best for you based on maybe the price, how often you use it, what you value in this product. I have a sentence for you. Working from home is an option for most people at Ian's company. So I think it's good for companies to provide that option, especially now we are after the COVID era and now everybody has more freedom, and that's another option, so I don't have to always go to the office. Okay, back to the article. The method also makes customers more likely to buy something in the first place because it puts the focus on which to buy among several instead of whether to buy at all if there is only one. So they've done these marketing tests that say that 3 is the best, but if it's 5, then people will be like, I don't know what to choose, so I'm not going to choose any. And if there's only 1, people would be just like, well, I don't need it.
That's true. Some people would complain, oh, it's too expensive.
Yeah.
But then their friend would say, oh no,
but there's a cheaper one.
They have a cheaper option. We often say that. So
Smart.
You don't only have to buy the one that everyone is buying and it might be too expensive. They will have other choices or other options. Let's take a break and then we'll be back with more about Goldilocks and her principle.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。我们在第一天的课文读到，要精通一项技巧时，可以运用金发姑娘原则。不过这个概念也适用于学习以外的各种领域，像在商业领域，它指的就是人们对适量事物的偏好。那这个原则就被运用在定价上面，来驱使人们去选择利润最高的产品。这就是为什么我们常看到同一种产品或是服务它用不同的方式来提供。像一家科技公司，它也许会提供3种手机版本，有高价版、中价版跟低价版。那由于人们通常会避免极端，所以大多数的人都是挑中价位的选择。 Rainbow 老师刚刚就谈到行销策略，那他说的这个 marketing strategy 就是行销策略 ，marketing 就是在 market 后面加上 ing 构成这个名词，可以表达行销。老师还有用到 tactic 这个名词 ，tactic 可以指战术、策略或是手法。再看到课文单字 profitable， 它是形容有利润的、有利可图的。那么 product 表示产品、产物。再看到 option 这个名词啊，它是指可选择的事物或者是选择。好，这边两个重点，我们进入文法时间。好，我们来看第一个重点是 used to 的用法。第一种呢，我们用 something be used to 加上原形动词，可以表达某事物被用来做某事。举例来说 ，This jar is used to store sugar。这个罐子是用来存放糖。好，那第二个用法呢？当我们用 somebody be used to 加上名词或动名词，是指某人习惯做某事。好，举例来说 ，Dylan is used to taking a shower in the morning。Dylan 习惯早上冲澡。那么第三个，当我们用某人或某事物当主词，然后加上 used to， 再加原形动词，这是指某人或某事物过去经常怎么样，那用来表示过去曾发生或存在的情况，暗指说现在情况已经有所不同。例如 ，Dylan used to take a shower twice a day。Dylan 以前都会一天冲澡2次，表示说现在不会咯。好，那么第二个重点是感官动词，它是指看啊、听、闻、感觉之类的动词，包括 watch、see、look at、listen to、hear、feel 等等。那以下介绍几种常见用法。第一种呢，我们可以用感官动词加受词加原形动词，这个用法是强调过程或是事实。那如果说这个用法要用被动语态表示的话，注意原形动词的部分你要改用 to 加原形动词哦。例如 Someone saw him steal the bike， 有人看到他偷脚踏车，有看到这个事实。那么被动语态就可以写作 He was seen to steal the bike， 注意我们这边用 to steal。好，那么第二个用法是说感官动词加受词加上现在分词 VING， 这是强调动作正在进行。例如 Someone heard him talking to himself， 有人听到他在自言自语。好，那么被动语态就可以写作 He was heard talking to himself。好，第三个用法是感官动词加受词加上过去分词 PP， 这时候啊是表达受词的被动状态。例如 Someone saw him abducted from his home， 有人看到他从家中被绑架走。那么被动语态可以写作 He was seen abducted from his home。那这边补充一下 abduct 这个动词就表示绑架啊、劫持或是诱拐的意思。解发课文中。
When it comes to designing new products, a similar effect occurs. Consumers are unlikely to buy something that is different from what they are used to. Companies must walk the line between innovation and familiarity, as items that balance old and new are the most likely to take off. These are just a few examples of the Goldilocks Principle in action. See if you can spot it elsewhere in your life.
All right, so we've learned how companies will use the Goldilocks principle when trying to sell products to the customers, but that's after they already have the product, right? How do they create products with all of these choices? Well, when it says when it comes to designing new products, a similar effect occurs. Consumers or customers, we people with money buying stuff, consumers are unlikely to buy something that is different from what they are used to. Interesting. Often when we're replacing things, a phone, a car, a computer, a watch, or even a pair of shoes, we don't often do something that's completely different from what we bought before. We often buy things that are quite similar, but we also want them to be different in some way.
That's why they keep making new models.
Exactly.
New colors.
They gotta add something new. But if they make it too new...
Are we talking about the iPhone right now?
Well, then consumers might kind of say, oh, I don't like that. I like my
too hard
old
to
one more.
use.
This one's too different. It's got all this stuff on it that I don't need. Because consumers, customers, people with money buying stuff can be very picky, very choosy, and go, no, I don't like it. I'm not giving you my money. But consumers for a company are the people whose money they want, because a consumer buys things, uses things. If you go to the store and buy something, you are a consumer. If you pay for a service, you are a consumer. Basically, if you're a person in an economy with money, spending it on stuff, you are a consumer of some kind. The new laws were designed to protect consumers. And often here, when we're talking about consumers, we're putting that kind of against the retailers, the companies, the businesses selling. They sell, the consumers buy.
Companies must walk the line between innovation and familiarity, as items that balance old and new are the most likely to take off. So again, it shouldn't be too different at first. Maybe just introduce one new feature, but then maybe in the next model, you can introduce another one to see if people could get used to it more quickly. These are just a few examples of the Goldilocks Principle in action. See if you can spot it elsewhere in your life.
Yeah, and I'm sure you will be able to spot it elsewhere in your life. Now you know about it, and if you're paying attention, elsewhere just means in another place. Right, in another place, in another situation, just not here where what we're talking about exactly, but somewhere similar, but somewhere also different. All right, so what are you going to do for lunch? Are you going to eat lunch at your desk in your office or at your desk in school? No, I think I'll go eat lunch elsewhere. Maybe I'll go to the park, maybe I'll go to the cafeteria, but just another place. Yeah, exactly. For example, if they don't have the book you want here, we can go look elsewhere. We can go to another bookstore, maybe try a library, but not in this place. All right, our what do you think question is about this idea and about noticing it elsewhere. What are some other examples of the Goldilocks Principle?
Well, I'm always thinking about the iPhone because, every time they get it out, they always have the Pro, they have like Max Pro, and they have the Mini, and they just have the iPhone. Same with all the iProducts. You can choose depending on size, range, and what you need. Yeah, so that's the one that comes to mind most.
Okay, well, I've been planning a holiday recently, and I noticed there's a lot of choices in there, right? When you buy your airplane ticket, first class, more expensive. Economy, cheaper but small seats. Business class, kind of in the middle. And also hotels, right? There's 4 different sizes of room, and they all cost different amounts of money. You can have the little room if you're not going to be spending time in the hotel, or you can have the giant room with a living room and a kitchen.
And then you just live in the hotel.
And you can basically have an apartment you won't want to leave, but of course that's expensive, that's cheap. But there's always the one in the middle, and that's probably the one that most people will choose.
Have you made some decisions yet?
I have. I went with the middle option on flying because the cheap one means I can't cancel, and the expensive one, I don't need a giant seat. And for the hotel, I picked kind of a slightly nicer one.
Okay, good.
Because it'll be me and my wife, and I wanted it to be special. But, in another situation, the cheap option would be perfect, would be just right for me. So it depends on you, but I'm sure if you look, you will notice the Goldilocks Principle in work all over the place. So enjoy that, enjoy yourselves, choose wisely, and we'll see you back here soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
至于设计新产品，也适用于金发姑娘原则。由于消费者不太可能去购买跟他们习惯不同的事物，那么公司就必须在创新跟熟悉度之间走中间路线，能平衡新旧产品的这个商品呢，是最有可能成功的。这也难怪许多产品不会常常大改款，只会稍微修改一下，或者是增加一点新的特色。那看了这2天的课文，我们会发现金发姑娘原则其实无所不在。同学们可以跟身边的人讨论看看，是否能在生活中的其他地方来发现它。我们最后来看2个单字， Consumer 就是消费者或是顾客。Mike 老师说的 retailer，retailer 就是指零售商或者是零售店。再看到下一个单词 elsewhere 就是副词，是表达在别处、去别处的意思。好，那么以上今天的讲解，同学们别走开，马上回来哦。
The Goldilocks Principle applies to a range of areas beyond learning. In business, it refers to people's preference for the right amount of something, and it's used to set prices in a way that drives people to select the most profitable products. That's why you often see the same product or service offered in different ways. A technology company, for example, might offer 3 versions of a cell phone: high-end, mid-range, and low-end. Since people generally avoid extremes, most will choose the mid-range option. The method also makes customers more likely to buy something in the first place because it puts the focus on which to buy among several, instead of whether to buy at all if there is only one. When it comes to designing new products, a similar effect occurs. Consumers are unlikely to buy something that is different from what they are used to. Companies must walk the line between innovation and familiarity, as items that balance old and new are the most likely to take off. These are just a few examples of the Goldilocks Principle in action. See if you can spot it elsewhere in your life.
In addition to a lush landscape, Wanjing Art Garden has impressive architecture and an extensive collection of artwork. The owner collects many valuable wood sculptures, jadeware, stone carvings, and antique furniture. They're displayed in the park as well as in 2 exhibition galleries. They're sure to be eye-openers. The park has several gigantic pieces of green jade on display. They're actually rough stone of Fangtian jade, a special kind of jade from Hualien. Fangtian jade is mostly semi-transparent or transparent and looks like glass. Known as Taiwan jade, it was once famous around the world. In the back of the park are 2 exhibition galleries. The first one visitors see is the Golden Zitangge. The architecture looks like it's out of the Tang Dynasty with pillars decorated in gold foil. The extravagant look is just like an ancient palace. Built with wood joinery techniques, the entire gallery is made with high-quality cedar and Taiwan cypress. As soon as you walk in, the wood's fragrance greets your nose. The large wooden furniture displayed inside is mostly made with sandalwood that is over 1,000 years old, including a 9-dragon screen, a dragon chair, and a chaise longue. The furniture is elaborately carved and full of nostalgia. The second exhibition gallery displays the owner's private collection, including crystal Buddha statues, pagodite sculptures, jade bracelets, bloodstone, wood sculptures, and Yixing clay teapots. There is also an amber wood table made with kauri, a national treasure of New Zealand. The wood is very rare and has a history of over 35,000 years. The exhibition gallery is just like a small museum. Each work is an impressive treasure that people marvel at.